The Women Beyond the Table is a community of empowered women who are rewriting the rules and taking their skills, knowledge, and wisdom beyond the table.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Women Beyond the Table podcast. My name is Tammy, and I'm always so grateful and excited to be on this podcast, to host it. And today is no different. I know you're probably thinking, God, she says that every time she's on the podcast, how excited and grateful, and she can't wait to welcome the guests, but it's because it's true, because I have the best guests. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to now get into introducing my guest, who I'm very excited about because I find her fearless and somebody to be admired. She's one of my favorite multipreneurs. I call her a multipreneur because she just keeps opening businesses and doing stuff, and it's quite amazing to watch. She's a wealth of talent. Her name is Monica Johnson. She's makeup artist, pianist, and animation agent. So Monica has a background in advertising, a degree in TV production and business, and a passion for makeup. Several years ago, Monica decided to briefly pause her career in order to perfect her artistry skills. She heavily immersed herself as a makeup artist at Sephora, where she developed various techniques and skill sets, and then learned about and trained with all skincare types, makeup brands, and worked on clients of different ages, ethnicities, and skin types. So she became quite proficient in makeup. Her philosophy was finding one's inner mojo. Monica Johnson, Mojo, that's her nickname. And it's a perfect combination of her nickname. And it's only fitting that she wants others to find their true glow from within. Monica owns MoJoGlow Makeup Artistry, which was voted #1 by the Knot.com, which is an amazing achievement because that's like the bridal registry out there. Monica's creativity is constantly flowing. She even got back to her musical roots during the beginning of the pandemic and classically retrained herself how to play the piano after a 25-plus-year hiatus away from the keys and only 11 months of lessons at the tender age of 8. So not only did she return after 25 years, but it wasn't like she was playing nonstop. It was only 11 months at the age of 8. That's pretty incredible to me. Monica is performing regularly, and she even had a performance in Paris not that long ago. Monica also has released several classical recordings, and I've had the pleasure of listening to them, and she truly is always evolving. Isn't that one of the names of one of the albums, Evolution? So with that being said, and I said a lot, I hope I got everything right, Monica, and didn't screw anything up because that would stink. I really would like to invite Monica Johnson, my friend, and my very special guest. Hey, Monica.
Hey, Tammy. Thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate you having me on your podcast. And it's great to see you and talk.
I know, right? It's like we've always had like conversations. Yeah. And we've always we've gotten to know each other. And I've always had the pleasure of listening to your recitals and hearing your recordings. And I've always felt like because you share so much of yourself with your music, whatever you do, anything, whether it's virtual or whatever you're doing, you always like bring the crowd right into your life. And you talk about your mom, you talk about your influences, and you put beautiful like visuals together. And it's just so resting. Like you feel like you're part of it.
Thank you.
You know, I've gotten to know you better from going to your recitals and listening to your music because you really like open yourself up. But you see, it's very interesting to me because basically you like started your career and you're still doing it. You're in the advertising space, you're in animation, and that's your like full-time gig, correct?
It is.
So
yes,
you're
it
just
is.
Really, everything seems to be, to me, it's very creative. Everything that you do is very creative. That's the common theme, but still like managing a studio and doing that is kind of like a cross between like, it's almost like a little corporate, but not corporate, but it's very business and very, it's very set. And then you go and you have these side gigs that are becoming extremely, I mean, the makeup side is extremely successful and your music is like you're performing. So how do you do that? Like, how do you go decide to just do this. And it's a very fearless thing to do, like just saying, I'm going to do that because that's what interests me. So give us a little bit of that background journey.
Oh my gosh. I think it really started early on. I've always had this mentality of like, okay, well, how can I do this? How can I do that? Let's babysit. Let's do a lemonade stand. Let's do fundraising. So this started at a really early age for me. And I've always been that type of person who's been a go-getter from the start.
An entrepreneur. Yeah.
An entrepreneur for sure. And, my parents did a great job at raising me to be that way, but I just had it in me, and a lot of people have it in them. And for me, I started out in advertising. My journey, it would probably take an all-day podcast to talk about it, but it's been like pivot after pivot after pivot. And the advertising, every single job that I've had comes into play with what I'm doing now, So I used to be a producer for an advertising agency. And then what ended up happening was I did that for many years, but my mom passed away and I just needed to take a step back. And so I ended up getting involved. I said, what do I really like to do? What makes me happy and feeling really great? And that was the makeup. So then
that's from your mom, right? Because she was always very much, like telling you to do what like your passion, like
always.
Yeah.
She was always very adamant. She was a school teacher. So for her, it was just really pushing myself, her students, to pursue their passions greatly and to be fearless. So, for me, it was, okay, well, let's take a break from the production aspect of it. Let's get in tune with yourself. So I had a little bit of an eat, pray, love moment and really immersed myself in, learning as much as I could about makeup artistry, worked with Sephora, which they were instrumental in getting me to where I am now. And then also coming back into advertising and then seeing, oh, wow, well, what's really great is there's this business of rep life, which is what I'm doing. And we're managing several different studios. So it's like that moment of pivot, right? When something is, maybe you're in a dark place or whatnot, you use that time to grow. And I often think about it as like someone throwing dirt over you, right? When you garden, and that's one of the things I love to do is I love to garden. You have to throw dirt onto your seeds for it to sprout, but you're not going to see that growth stage until you see things start to blossom from, the top of that layer.
I something really like heavily resonated with me, impacted me when I was in the beginning of the pandemic, when I was like seeking, I was like working with coach and everything. And one of the things that I did was I went and bought sunflower seeds. And I put them in a pot to grow. And I had always like had some, plants on my windowsill because I live in an apartment, and I never took any interest in them. I never watered them. I mean, my husband would water them, but I always like, oh, I have an orange thumb. I don't have a green thumb. But what happened was I bought these sunflower seeds. And one of the things that they said to us is your life is like the seeds. Okay. You put it in the right soil, you put it in the soil, and then you have to water it. And sometimes it takes a little while for that seed to break through. And imagine if you don't see it ever coming through and you're just like, it's not happening, I'm giving up. And that day you decide, I'm not giving it water anymore. And that was a day that your little seed was going to break through, but because you stopped giving it water, it didn't. And that had such an impact on me because I saw it with my sunflowers. I kept watering them. They grew and they grew. And then I took all of my plants and I just became like their best friend. And I have like a great, it brings me joy because it's like bringing nature into the house. But what you're talking about, like that whole concept of going and of doing the things, but not like you have to nurture and you have to be patient.
Absolutely. You have to water, you have to be consistent, you have to find something that's going to make you feel great, right? The makeup, the production, oh my goodness, my piano, it all are these different seeds. And I think the common place for all of it is that it is very creative, but you're not going to see growth from day one. You know, my piano journey, I didn't see growth from day one. I almost wanted to throw in the towel and run away once I sat down at the piano, because it was so scary to look at music that I had never seen before, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is crazy. But just really giving yourself the opportunity to really showcase how capable you are. And sometimes we don't give ourselves that opportunity, but I just say, trust the process, because the process is there for you. And you just have to know how to be patient. And it
Well,
will
you know,
pay
it's
off.
interesting because COVID came, and as a makeup
Yeah.
artist, I mean, you
Yes.
have to be physically with the person to put their makeup on them. I mean, you could do like makeup lesson, you could do virtual things and show application. Like I noticed people were, you know, in the field were kind of doing that, like showing makeup tips or doing something virtual, like how to do, you know, like shape your eyebrows and doing things, but it's not, you know, you can't touch a person's face. I mean, all the salons, everything was shut down anyway. It wasn't like you had a choice. So you took the time instead of saying, oh, what am I going to do? You know, you took the time and you just were like, I'm going to play the piano. I'm going to do this. And tell me about how your mom's like brought that passion forward.
Sure. So going back to makeup really quickly is, yes, it was such a scary point in 2020. Basically, I was not touching anybody's faces. So the wedding seasons were completely canceled. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm sitting around the house all day. You know, I'm not commuting into the city for work. So what do we do at that time? So yeah, I was doing, you know, like Zoom virtual consultations and makeup sessions, which are great. And then, you know, my piano is just in my living room, but it was one of those old school, it sounded like something out of an old saloon from Westworld. So it was just really out of tune and horrible. So I would always pass it. And, you know, in 2020, we were all like baking bread. I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I can't bake bread because I'm going to gain all the 20 pounds and the summer body's not going to be ready. So, you know, it's just like one of those things where I felt something in my spirit. And my mom's been gone for 8 years, since 2014. But she and I have like this very special connection. And we even made a pact before she passed away. And I still feel her energy around the house. And it was just like one day I was walking through the living room and her portrait overlooks the piano. It's behind it.
That's
it's
incredible.
Something, yeah, it was. And to be honest, it's something I cannot explain other than it felt like a magnet. Just being like, okay, I'm in this place. I'm not moving. Why am I not moving? I'm going to try to Netflix and chill, but it's not working. I'm just standing at the piano. And something was pulling my energy to just sit down and play.
Absolutely.
So I said, you know what? Now's the time. I'm not commuting. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not going anywhere. I was like under house arrest, right? So, okay, let's do this. And it really exploded into something I had no idea it would ever turn into.
It's like it took you over.
It did. But I felt a sense of calm just immediately hit my body the moment I touched the keys. Now, granted, the keys were not in the best shape. That's fine. But the music, there's something about music therapy and sound baths and sound therapy, which really do help to heal. And I found myself really, when I was playing maybe the 2 songs at the time that I knew how to play, which was like Burlesque and Chopsticks, that's
something.
It's something.
That's something to build a whole recording on and add performances.
It was my things. It was my start, you know? And so something just said, sit with this, sit with the notes, sit with the music. I didn't know how to read sheet music at all. But when I was 8, my mom would take me weekly to this woman's house. She's a teacher, very renowned. And she would really teach me. And so, you know, it was like the old school, like slap your hand if your fingers are straight, back straight, everything posture. She taught me the right fingering for the scales and the chords. So I retained all of that information. And that,
you know what, when you're taught the right way, it becomes part of your foundation.
Yes.
We call it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you know, some people say, oh, it's like riding a bike. It always comes back to you. And I was, okay, this is maybe not like riding a bike, but maybe with training wheels, but you know, I'm getting the hang of it. And so the more I kept playing the songs, I was like, okay, this is actually helping me. So there was one day where we had a piano tuner come in a hazmat suit because we're in the middle of a pandemic and that's what happens. And he tuned the piano. And so, you know, my mom played a really integral part in just all her encouragement. She spoke like wisdom into me and just really like positive affirmations like all the time. So I just said, you know what, this is my time to now focus on my music because this is helping to calm my nerves. So let's just go with it. So the piano tuner came in, he tuned the piano, and then I posted it to my social media accounts, and no one knew that I played. So that was fun. And so everybody's like, you need to keep playing because for the sake of our sanity, it's really helping us to cope. So I took that challenge on and I said, you know what, challenge accepted. I'm sure my mom would have wanted me to continue with it anyway. And I was, I think at the age of 8, a little hard-headed because I was a kid and I would rather play outside versus in spending an hour a day on the piano. And it's funny now, it's like I practice, it's hours a day.
And it's
just
a joy.
To get there. It's a joy.
But you know what? Like as a parent, when you put things into your kids when they're young, the education, the desire, and you say, you know what, you're going to learn this instrument, you're going to do this, and they do it, you know what, they might walk away from it, they come back. At some point in their life, they come back, and it's so lucky for them when they come back and they have that information already in them, because they might want to come back and they have to start from square one, you know, but they have like the seed, the information, the recall. And also just the fact, like I was very moved because I lost my mother too. She passed on in 2016 and 2015. I'm sorry. And
I'm sorry.
You know, it's like just her port of all the places, like you have the image, there's the piano. You could have put the piano somewhere else in the room. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like the way it just all came to be. And then you had that bridge. I mean, that energy like that was connecting. And I just think it's like, it's amazing. And that you were able to just take it and then keep moving with it. It's not just you sat down, you played the piano, you know, you taught yourself some songs and like, oh, no, you're performing, you're recording, and you're reading sheet music because at your last recital, you had the person who is moving the pages. That means you're reading music and moving the pages. Also, it wouldn't be there. There wouldn't be any changes. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yes. I picked up on that.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah. And it's gotten to that level. It's like, if you had talked to me 2 years ago and said, oh, stop Netflix and chilling and just play the piano, just trust yourself, just trust that it will work out, I would have laughed and been like, what are you talking about that I'm going to be doing a recital? What are you talking about that I would be performing in Paris? What are you talking about I'd be recording a CD? Like all of this just sounds unbelievable, even to me when I say it, because I can't even get over the fact that because I gave myself the chance and the opportunity, and I really just put all of my focus and my energy into it, that this is what came out. So that seed really grew into something unbelievable and magical. I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah,
that happens. Cause like, you know, no, but seriously, tell me about Paris, like how, sure. Because first of all, your images from Paris are stunning. They're gorgeous.
Thank you.
I like check out social media and I follow you. And I was like, wow, that is beautiful. But like, that's huge. I mean, that's Europe, playing in Europe kind of thing, you know, and tell me about that. How did it come about? Because what's interesting to me is like, you're saying, like, oh, if you would have told me and I didn't, you know, but each step opened and you just crossed that, you went for it. You just crossed and you didn't say, I don't think I can do that. I'm not going to do that. Like you went and did it. So tell me about that.
That's the thing. It's like about me. I do it. You know, it's like, if I have an idea, I'm going to pursue it. And I think for everybody that's listening out there, I'm just going to say, you have a dream and you have a goal, just do it. Don't be afraid. Just give it a go and try it. But Paris for me was unbelievable. This was a trip that was supposed to happen, funny enough, in 2020. So had I gone in 2020, I would never have been able to play.
Right.
Because I didn't know. The trip was then finally came to be a couple months ago in March. So I went with one of my friends and I speak French. So I'm not, you know, to the point where I can have full on amazing conversations, but I'm definitely, I would say like 75% fluent. So for
That's
me,
great.
it was so really easy to navigate, get around, talk to the locals, which was wonderful. We had really wonderful conversations. And now whenever I go on vacation, I'm like, okay, does the hotel have a piano? Where's the closest piano? So I'm trying to like Google map it or whatever. And there was one night before we went to our next destination in France where we decided to go to a jazz club one night just to enjoy live music. Of course, at the jazz club, they had a piano. So I went up to the owner, we had a conversation in French, and they had the best food. And I asked her if I could play, and I'm a pianist. And my friend was like, yeah, she's really, you got to hear her. So, they made amazing accommodations for me to play in front of a live audience in a different country.
That's incredible.
And it was really amazing because I had to keep pinching myself while I was in the restaurant because it just didn't seem real. And it was just really cool to bring my music, the music that I learned from different artists to Paris. So
yeah, you had a live audience, like you had an opportunity to play. It's like, I don't know, is it kismet? What would you call it? It's just amazing.
It's just, it's magical. I would say it's magical above anything else. So it was an opportunity I'll definitely cherish for a lifetime. And Paris is a piece of my heart. So I'm hoping to get back there as soon as possible.
And then you got back from Paris and you did a recital.
I did a recital. So this isn't the first recital that I've done. The last I've done probably about, I think 4 now.
Yeah, because over the pandemic, you were doing them. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it started last year and then I kept up with it, and I'm gonna, I guess, call it or label it Vivaldi's 4 seasons, because it seems like it's always like spring, summer, fall, and winter. But this time was in the spring. And, I had several songs under my repertoire. When I was 8, I was classically trained. So I had that foundation fundamentals of learning Beethoven and the proper scales and all that. So now I just really expanded on it. And I take a lot of the music that I love to listen to, because I'm obsessed with classical music. So the Chopin and the Debussy and the Beethoven and the Bach, it's all of that combined into this piece, into this recital. So I curated the songs based on what I love to listen to, and a lot of the popular ones. And I put it out there on Zoom and in person. So it was an amazing time to perform.
I think now, like Gen Z, I know everybody has their style of music, but I think, classical's just always been, it's not like it goes in or out of fashion. Classical is classical, but I think a lot of younger kids are like really resonating to it. And it's very interesting because even when you give birth, I mean, they'll give you from the hospital classical music for the baby to play in the house because it builds pathways, neural pathways. It helps them, I guess, enrich their neural pathways or expand neural pathways, classical music.
Yes.
And there's been studies with water and music and how certain music will create like just darkness and like horrible, like violence and negative emotions, and how the other music, like classical music, does the opposite. And this is like science. I mean, you'll see like brain waves and biofeedback of really spiky, disjointed, based on the type of music it is, body responses versus this like almost like nice wave and smoothness with classical music or those types of music. And I just feel it's really interesting. And I think music is therapy anyway for a lot of people.
It is. If you listen, I think, to the right type of music, you know what I mean? I probably wouldn't be able to concentrate listening to hard metal, but at the same time, but if I'm doing work, and this has been since I was, a kid, turning on classical music and working or just listening to it, and it really zens you out, which is great. So that calming, ability that it has worked on so many people. And I've had, I've had family members, I've had friends who've reached out to me and said, thank you so much, because whatever they were going through, they listened to the music or they listened to classical music and it really helps them. Someone was pregnant and that's what they were playing for their baby before they were born. And so it really helped that, process, which was really nice.
In your makeup, I'm sure you went back to also doing makeup artistry because
Yes.
everything opens up so much. Do you ever like play your music when your clients are, getting ready, when you're doing their makeup, and like have them listen to the music, or just to keep them, they must be like bouncing out of their seats, or the bride, they're like, holy shit. So do you ever like just like, and just play your music for them?
I have not yet. However, I am fully booked up for the next few months because summer is wedding season.
That's right.
So being that this is really the first full year that I've had like my whole schedule booked up, that's a great idea. Thank you. And I might adopt that, and I can definitely, play something. But normally when I'm on gigs, I'm playing a little Beyonce, I'm playing a little Jill Scott, I'm playing, a little Stevie. So it's a mesh of different types of music to help them get into the spirit of like, oh my gosh, I'm getting married. But yeah, the calming aspect of my music, I should do that.
I think, because you say, listen, I'm going to play something for you that's so nice and calming, because, it's your big day and we want you to be like in like a great relax and mode.
Yeah.
And then at the end, like, so what did you think of that? And they go, it's beautiful. Say, that's my music. And then who knows, like, you never know where it goes from there.
You never know.
You just never know.
It's like you open yourself up to opportunity and the universe just kind of speaks to you. So
yeah, if you open yourself up.
Yes.
Don't you find that like you listen? Okay, so you listen to your inner voice. I mean, the problem is a lot of people just, they don't, or they're like, okay, I have a job, I need my income. I'm not leaving that, and that's just, it's choice, right?
It is.
It is choice, but it's funny because like the whole listening intuitively, a lot of people just don't want to. I think COVID helped a lot of people pivot and think like, wow, I need to do something differently. I always say like the whole BC, before COVID thing, and then there's COVID, and then there's after COVID.
Right.
And you know what? And I think what we all learned was as challenging as things are, like how to navigate. And you start realizing, I'm here to learn something, and it's what it's gonna do something. If I'm open to learning and not looking at it like another thing that's put me down or set me back. If you're open to learning, you're open to like moving forward. Yeah, there's opportunities, but you're your best self, and more opportunity comes when you're doing what your passion tells you to do, what your Dharma tells you to do. So I feel like, you became number one from the knot in makeup artistry. You didn't start out as a makeup artist, but you followed your passion and you were so good at it because it's what you love doing. And when you love doing something and you're kind of selfless about the way you go about it, I think it just naturally comes back to you.
And it's cool because I've always loved makeup. My friends be like, oh my gosh, can I do your makeup, or can you do my makeup? And if I'm at a sleepover, they're like, okay, we're going to have like a spa girls time, so let's do the makeup there, whatever. And so when I was in high school, I did like musical theater, and I would do the makeup for the musical theater team members. But, it really came at a point where my cousin had hired me out for her wedding about 10 years ago in 2011. And then my mom was really sick. She had scleroderma, which is a disease that affects your lung and your skin. So she really started to get very ill after that period of time. And I was working a very high stressful job. So my inner voice was like silenced. I could not hear it at all. And then when she passed, I ended up saying, I just need to take some time for myself. And it felt like I was on a tightrope where I'm walking in a straight line. And if I fall, I'm like, I don't know who's going to catch me, so
you're very overwhelmed.
I was really, really overwhelmed. So I have a very good relationship with my former boss. I just told her I just need to take a step back, and that's it. So I ended up quitting my job out of like, just with nothing else to back me up. I'm like, well, this is the time where I'm not married. I don't have kids right now. I think I can do this. So I'm going to figure out what it is that's going to help me to heal. And at the time, the makeup was what healed, what was an agent in healing, healing everything, all my emotions. I could hear my voice a little bit more. I could hear my third eye, like my inner voice getting a little bit clearer. And that kind of set me on the journey to saying, okay, well, you know what? There's a big need. I love doing makeup. I love helping people. I love making people feel really great about themselves. Yeah. I worked with a cancer patient, and she had cancer, and this was her first time she was going out, and I was able to do her makeup. And she looked at herself in the mirror for the first time after the makeup job was done, and she was in tears because of how happy she was. And that made me realize I'm doing something great, just not for her, but for everybody else. So there's a need. So I really decided, I'm going to pursue opening up my business, MoJoGlow Makeup Artistry, putting myself on the knot.
I love that name.
Hustling hard. Thank you.
MoJoGlow. It's such a great name.
Thanks,
what a brand.
Tammy.
I know it's Monica Johnson, but it's like Mojo is also like, you got your mojo going on, it's like, it's such a fabulous name, and glow.
Yeah.
And this is your brand. I mean, it also covers the music, MoJoGlow music.
Absolutely.
So it's like glowing within. Tell me about the National Scleroderma Foundation, because I know you're involved with that,
Sure.
And that you're very supportive there. So tell me about how involved you are, what you're doing with that, because I think it's really important.
So I decided, because my mom had passed away from scleroderma, and it's not enough, I would say, research out there, or people know about it. It's not as mainstream as, say, like cancer, all these other different diseases. And I just thought, with my music, how can I give back? How can I get people to really understand that this disease affects so many others? And I've been partnering with them because for my recitals, I do fundraisers for them.
Right.
And they have their walks every year. This is actually the month of June. This is, National Scleroderma Month. This is the month for scleroderma awareness. So they have walks where people can go and honor loved ones that have since passed on, or honor those who are still living, and walk in their honor. But it affects, people get very sensitive to cold because it affects their fingers and their body, and your skin tightens. So my mom lived with it for 45 years. There are others who have different lifespans or timeframes from when they do get diagnosed, but the disease is very, very hard to get diagnosed because there are all these different symptoms that are very similar to other diseases out there. So really trying to spread awareness. Bob Saget actually was an advocate, and almost, he was partnered with the Scleroderma Foundation because his sister also had it. So it is becoming a disease where people are hearing about it a little bit more, but not enough. So
I mean, I think, for people who want to know more or donate, especially after hearing this podcast, it's National Scleroderma Foundation.com would be the website.
Yeah. So it's, oh gosh, now I'm in the spelling bee. Hold on.
Yeah. Right. Cause I know, like, I'm pronouncing it like I'm mangling it. I have it in my mind.
It's all good. It's a little difficult to pronounce, but it's pronounced scleroderma, and and it's spelled SCLERODERMA, scleroderma.
And I have a website, so it's easy.
They do have a website.
Yeah.
So you can Google. I can't think of the website offhand. I believe it's like www.scleroderma.org, but you can Google it, and you'll just, if you type in Scleroderma Foundation, it will immediately come up. So there's the national chapter, and then there are all the other smaller chapters like Tri-State and all of that, where you can sign up for activities and events and how to, get involved in all of that.
Well, that sounds good. So let me ask you a question. Now that you're where you are, and you're wise, and you listen to yourself, and you take chances, and you played in France. I mean, you just doing your thing, and and taking your craft to the next level.
Yeah.
Because you started with, I remember when Metamorphosis was the first one I listened to of your
Oh yeah, Metamorphosis. Yeah.
And then Evolution. And I was like, I couldn't even believe from Metamorphosis to Evolution, like, and it wasn't a big time frame in between, but I was like, wow, like she's really taking her craft like always like upward into the next level. And then the recital
Thank
that I caught this recital, but you had another recital before that I remember.
you.
There was
Mhm.
another recital that you did over last year. It was in
Yes.
2021. And I was like, just like your presence and your calmness, like going out and the confidence, you know, and being like on camera. It's like you're I'm telling you, you're an evolutionary thing going on with you. You're just like keep building your craft up. But if you had to like go back and think about it and say, listen, you know, to your younger self, and
Mhm.
and like you had to like give yourself some guidance because you know there is a road. Everybody travels on a road, and you have to
Of
figure it
course.
out. It's not easy. What would you tell yourself, your younger self?
I would just say be on your own path and do what you're doing. And even though the road might seem dark, stormy, and scary, just have some faith and know that you're going to get through it and you're stronger than you think you are. And just trust yourself in the process, because when it's the moment when you kind of trust yourself, that is where the magic happens. So I'm continuing to, evolve. There's so much that I want to do with my music and my makeup, and even with what I'm doing professionally in advertising. And I just have to listen to my voice, not the voice that I'm talking with, but my inner voice. So
Right.
my younger self, as precocious as she was, just to keep being yourself.
Yeah.
And don't ever
become
give up.
somebody else. Yeah. So
And it's funny, last point, Tammy, sorry,
yes.
but my mom would always
keep
say,
going.
my mom would always say when I was younger, know who you are, like just know who you are. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I know who I am, Monica Aaron Johnson, like hello, but I understand a lot better what she's talking about now that I have discovered all of this, I guess, all these passions and things that I'm doing and achievements based on listening to my inner voice. So now I'm really starting to know who I am.
Well, it's a good thing you listen, right?
Yes, it's a good thing.
So
right.
now I actually met you through Women Beyond the Table.
Yes.
So as we're coming to a close on this interview, which has been really great, this conversation, I want you to like share with me what Women Beyond the Table means to you or how you feel about it.
Yeah, of course. So I am really grateful that you started Women Beyond the Table during the pandemic. We've been utilizing Zoom and connecting with others through social media and all of that. So to be connected with a group of fierce, amazing women where we all have our strengths, different strengths and talents, that's been wonderful. And it's been a useful tool to network and to meet like people like yourself, where you're amazing and you're doing a lot as well. And I love it. And continuing to evolve. So the group has been wonderful because I see myself and others just being a part of this community, and that's what you need. We need community. And I think there's been support. A sense of a loss of that as a result of the pandemic in certain aspects. So
and also I just find like with women, like we're not competing with each other. It's just it started as like a business thing, a business network, but it's become more like just people who want to treat each other well and be kind to each other and inspire each other and be supportive of each other. That's really what I really like about it, because it's morphed into that more. And that's I think that's the key thing. And we're always looking to grow, but also and to deliver more, like to give more value to the members, because we really promote our members. I mean, whether it's social media, do a presentation, be on a podcast, God willing, we'll keep doing that stuff because we don't want to be just a group that promotes ourselves. We want to promote our members because the members won't make up the group, and everybody's got their lane. They're so cool. And I feel like any audience would want to like listen. They want to know, how did you do that? And how did you take that step? And how did you get to where you are? And that to me is like really giving back, because you're sharing your story and it might affect like even that one woman listening, or that one teenager, or even a woman who's who's older and closer to my age, and saying like, it's never too late. Like I can do this. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's something special about that. It's just not having that competition and having
absolutely. Yeah. And I loved the other day how we broke into small groups and we were able to network within the small groups, and there are members
we're gonna do more of those
all over. Yeah, which is wonderful. I love it. Please keep doing more of those.
Yes, we well, Maggie's gonna be running those, and
okay,
she had so I told her the next one will be after the summer, September. And then we'll plan. So we're gonna like every quarter we'll try to get one in. Yeah. So
yeah, it's like thing. You never know. You hear someone else's story and then it ties into you. There's some sort of synchronistic moment happening. You're like, oh my goodness.
I was like so happy that we had a chance to figure it out and do it, because really it's become everybody loves that. They want to be in small groups. They want to talk to each other. And I didn't even realize like the impact of it. And what we are like right now, we're like getting into like finances and stuff like that, like financial presentations, so that for long-term planning and for things like that, so we can bring the education, and then we'll do another breakout where you can get to know each other. So we're going to mix it up with business, with mindset, with finance, with this, with how-tos, and throw in the breakout so everybody can talk, because it's only once a month. So we kind of like, we don't have as much time. Some groups are weekly, but we're monthly. Yeah.
No, it's great.
Okay.
It's great.
So I want to thank you, first of all, for taking the time to be on this podcast and for being a guest. Like I said, multipreneur, like you have all these businesses and your book solid and you took the time. So I really do appreciate that. I do. And I'm really glad that you were able to guest, and you're an excellent guest and you have a lot of cool things to say. So I'm glad the audience will get to hear you.
Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. I really
pleasure.
It. Cool.
And I hope to have many more conversations and have a chance to listen to more recitals.
Absolutely. There's more in the works. Also recording more music. So I'm getting my next batch.
Next album's coming?
Yes, the next album is coming. Just don't have a date when it's going to drop yet, but it's coming.
I love it. Listen, wishing you tons of success always. Everything that you do.
Thank you so much.
And if anybody would like to reach out to Monica, please, if you want to ask questions about music or find out about music or her makeup artistry skill set, which I'm sure, it doesn't matter. You have to be a bride to have your makeup done, just saying. Okay. Like seriously. So what's the best way to meet you, to reach out to you?
To reach out to me, I would say it's through my Instagram page. Both my websites for my music and my makeup are located on them. So for makeup, it's at MoJoGlow, MoJoGlow MUA, like makeup artists. And then for my music, it is at MoJoGlow Music. So yes, you can ask me anything. If it's how to beat a brow, how to beat a face, how to do bridal makeup, how to do prom makeup, whatever it is, simplest questions, I'm here to answer them. So just, thank you so much for your time.
And provide, services too.
Yes, absolutely. Look up my website, look me up, follow me, and hope to be in touch.
Well, thank you so much for a wonderful interview, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tammy. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. We would love your support, so please leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you are interested in hearing more of the Beyond the Table podcast, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Check out the show notes to find out how to reach us, and remember, you are strong, intelligent, and sensational. You are Beyond the Table.